Hello and welcome to the concept discussion video by Neva AS. This is the fourth video in the series of cybersecurity. It's part of the internal security domain where we are discussing the security concept, cybersecurity concept in depth. And this is the fourth video, and the theme of this video is the measures and initiatives with respect to cybersecurity. So let's move to the domain. I'll just reiterate the definition once again for more clarity. Cybersecurity, it's all about the practice of protection. Protecting what? Electronic information. And it is being protected from unauthorized theft or access. Now we will see what all the government has done to protect electronic information from unauthorized theft and access. We have divided the measures into three aspects. One is institutional, so that you have something like an organization, a building, or an institution. Second is legal, where you have a legislation, for example, the IT Act, you have a framework law. Third is international measure, where you have two or three countries coming together and doing something. So that's the difference between three, but we have initiatives on all three fronts. First, let's see what institutional measures are there in India at present. The first and foremost term, so if you're writing a mains answer, this should be the first point, that is CERT, Cyber Emergency Response Team. The term itself talks about emergency response. So this is the first and foremost nodal agency to respond to cyber emergency. So it was constituted in 2004. So you should imagine that cybersecurity is something that is gaining importance in recent times. So this is something that was constituted in 2004. So it's an age-old organization, and it's an organization that is in the forefront of cybersecurity defense in India. And it has a legal backing because it is formed as per the Information Technology Act, Section 2070B. You don't have to study all this, just remember that it is under the IT Act. Third, the ministry under which it is. So there are different institutional mechanisms for cybersecurity. Let's say there are six, seven mechanisms. All of them are not under the same ministry. Some are under the Prime Minister's office, some are under the Home Ministry, and some are under the Ministry of Electronic Communications and Information Technology, which is popularly known as MeitY. So this is under the MeitY. Now finally, the objective. I've already told you the objective. It's somewhat the same. It is emergency response. So just remember the year, the act, and the ministry under which it functions, and the term itself talks you about the nature of it. Second is National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center. See the picture that is given here. It is State Bank of India. The portal of State Bank of India that deals with all its transaction can be called as a critical infrastructure. To protect such critical infrastructure, we have a protection center. So that's the second institutional mechanism. It is a comparatively new center, came up in 2014. And that also came under the IT Act, Section 70A. So we have two institutional mechanisms under the IT Act now. Third, IC4, which is the short form. The expansion is India Cyber Crime Coordination Center. This is also a relatively new organization that came in 2018. And it is under the Home Ministry. Recently, if you remember, the UGC NET exam, the National Eligibility Test was called off because there was a threat and of alleged irregularity that went to the Cyber Crime Coordination Center. So once the IC4 received this information, this test was cancelled. So this is how it functions. Just remember that it is under the MHA and not under any other organization. So it is directly acting in terms of law and order. Now next, National Cybercrime Reporting Portal. This is part of the previous thing that we discussed, which is IC4, under which we have a cybercrime reporting portal. See the website of it. I've given the website here. You can just Google it and see for yourself. It has different features. You can register a complaint. Suppose your phone is getting hacked, or you received a message that is offering you some money. If you click a link, then you can register it as a complaint here. Then you can track your complaint. You can check the suspect, and you can volunteer yourself as a cyber volunteer, and you will get information about all these cyber threats and all from the website itself. So this is part of the Ministry of Home Affairs, and see here the IC4. India Cyber Crime Coordination Center. This is part of that initiative. This is the portal, but we can give it as a separate point. The next is Technical Research Organization, and this is under the Prime Minister's office. Now the term itself talks about technical research. So the ambit or the nature of it is very wide. It deals with remote sensing, SIGINT, data gathering, processing, and cybersecurity. So it's not entirely dedicated to cybersecurity, but it will also do research on cybersecurity. It is under the PMO. The next is the Crime and Criminal Tracking Network System. This is something that is managed by the NCRB. It deals with all sorts of crime, especially cybercrime. So you can see here, this is how the website looks: cyber, crime, criminal, and crime tracking network. So this basically is not a response team. It just keeps data. It's a tracking network. Suppose there is a person who is calling from X, Y, Z number, one number, to multiple phones. This number will be part of this portal. After 2 years, this number is again popping up. So the police can cross-verify it with this number and see whether this person is a history cheater or a serial offender. The legacy issue of something can be traced back because information is stored in this network. That's the purpose. Next is Cyber Forensics Laboratory. See the building here? This is the Cyber Forensics Laboratory. It's located in New Delhi. So forensics is something that you know. Don't think of cyber, just think of forensics now. Whenever a crime happens, suppose a murder is happening, the forensics team will come, everything will be sealed, and then what they will do? They'll look at everything, the fingerprint, the hair and everything, and they'll trace the evidence. Just like that, every cyber thing also has a forensic aspect. For example, if something is happening in terms of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, then it will have a forensic part to it. Its IP address, its source code, everything can be traced. So this agency is dedicated for that, and they'll supply information to law information agencies. Next up is Maya OS. It is an operating system that was developed by DRDO. It is an indigenous operation system, just like the Apple iOS or the Android. But this is limited to defense. So defense infrastructure is being protected, and it has a system, inbuilt system called Chakravyu. It's a protection system. So it protects data as well as all the operations of the defense infrastructure because it is indigenously built Maya operating system. Next up is the legal measures. So far what we have seen is institutional measures. Now let's go to the legal measures. First up is the IT Act 2000. We have already seen that there are two things that have come up under the IT Act. See, for example, take the first one, National Critical Information Infrastructure Project. It comes under the Information Technology Act. Then you have the CERT. It is also under the Information Technology Act. So IT Act is a framework legislation that has enabled institutional mechanism, and it covers everything under it. So it's an old act. Now we are planning to replace it with the Digital India Act. So, but still it remains as a framework act in India. Second is Digital Data Protection Act. Now this came in 2023. You can see here. This act deals with data protection specifically, and it's some latest act with a lot of amendments. The details of which should be studied from the prelims perspective. From mains perspective, just understand that we have an act in 2023. Next is National Electronic Policy. Why is it important? Because electronics is the device through which everything is managed in the cyberspace. So you need to regulate how it is manufactured in the first place. That's why we have a National Electronic Policy. It deals with the cyber security aspect as well. Next up, we have the Cyber Surakshit Bharat Initiative. See this? It's an online training process. It will train people in the country for cyber security aspects. Then we have the helpline number 1930. If you call this number, you can report any cyber threat that has occurred to you. So it is like a portal that we discussed. It is a number that is also part of a legal measure. Now international initiatives, that's the third one. So Synergy is the first thing that you have to write in your mains answer. Synergy is an initiative that the CERT that we have discussed first does in collaboration with Cyber Security Agency of Singapore. So both these agencies will collaborate for this exercise where they exchange best practices. So last time they had 13 countries. So within these 13 countries, the best practice, for example, the 12930 number it's a best practice in India. So this thing will be shared with other countries and they'll share something that they have done. This is how synergy works. So in the previous session, we have discussed cyber security crimes as a transnational crime. So to deal with transnational crimes, you need international synergy. That's the whole idea. Second is Budapest Convention. See, this Budapest Convention came in 2001 and it is again a framework convention, but it is not comprehensive enough. It has to be updated. More provisions has to be included, but still we have a convention that can be written in the answer, which is Budapest Convention. Finally, the World Economic Forum has a Center for Cyber Security. So this is the page of that. So they also have a mechanism, but the international initiatives are limited. We need transnational framework conventions that needs to be ratified by all countries, not just signed but ratified. Only then it will have absolute power. So as of now, we have institutional mechanism close to 6-7, legal measures close to 4-5, and international initiatives close to 2-3. So that's all. In the next video will be the final session in the cyber security aspect, and in that we'll discuss with a general way forward. Thank you for listening.